A'ja Whistle Wilson. My God, you see how many free throws that lady have? Oh my God, on the stat sheet, she had basically 30 points, but all the free throws this woman got, man, they tried their best to keep the Aces in the game, man, but it didn't matter.
At first, it looked like just another missed call, but within seconds, one play set off a firestorm across the WNBA. Lexie Hull boxed out cleanly. A'ja Wilson came over her back, made clear contact, and somehow, the refs called it a jump ball. Commentators were speechless. Coaches on both sidelines were furious. And fans online, they exploded. Because this wasn't just a questionable whistle. It was the moment months of quiet frustration turned into undeniable outrage. For weeks, fans had been whispering about biased calls, star treatment, and refs who seemed to tilt the game.
Shot won't fall. Wilson, what looks like over the back. Well, oh boy. Jump ball is the call. Wow. Stephanie White's upset about that. I thought that was over the back. Wow. Watch this. That's a jump ball?
That viral clip made it all feel real. This wasn't an isolated mistake. It was a symbol, a tipping point, and what followed? The coach reactions, the players' silent protests, the stats, the body language, the crowd exposed something bigger than a bad call. It exposed a league-wide problem that the WNBA can no longer sweep under the rug. This is the moment the league's credibility cracked, and it might change everything. One whistle, one viral clip, everything changed. It looked like any other play. Indiana's Lexie Hull boxed out perfectly. Solid stance, perfect form, locked in.
She was aggravated by the refs already, and in the fourth quarter, 5:35 left, Stephanie White lost her shit on the sideline. She lost her shit. And let me just play this right here, roll it.
Lost that lead late.
And she gonna, you see her.
See on Caitlin
You
Clark.
see her just losing it up here. Losing it.
Wilson misses on
And
the
she
three,
got teed up right there.
On the sideline.
And Caitlin Clark.
A'ja Wilson came flying in from behind, didn't even attempt to fight for position, and reached over Hull's back to swat at the rebound. It was textbook over the back. A foul. Everybody watching, fans, analysts, coaches, knew it. You didn't even need a replay. But then the whistle blew, and the ref signaled a jump ball. For a second, everyone froze. It made no sense. The entire point of boxing out is to secure that space, and Hull did it by the book. But instead of being rewarded, the call gave the Aces the advantage. It was the kind of moment that doesn't just anger fans, it confirms their worst suspicions.
Defense is playing phenomenal. Oh my God, it's night and day. I think that Commissioner's Cup gave them swag. Now they're swagging it out. I never seen Natasha Howard so aggressive in my life. This girl is beasting out on Sunday. She is beast moding right now. And Timpson, the rookie, getting block shots, getting steals. Leah Boston is just murking, destroying A'ja Wilson.
That clip spread like wildfire. Thousands of fans clipped it, tweeted it, replayed it. It wasn't just about who got the ball, it was about what the call represented. A shift, a crack in the foundation. Because if something that obvious could be ignored, and even rewarded, what else had been slipping through all season? This was more than a bad whistle. It was the moment the frustration boiled over. And for the first time, the league's officiating wasn't just under fire, it was under a microscope. This wasn't a one-time mistake. It was a trend. To the casual fan, it might have looked like a one-off mistake.
This was a big win for the Fever because the Aces were the only team that they had not won at least one game to last season, meaning the Aces swept the Fever last season. They actually haven't won they actually haven't won a game against the Aces in 16 games. And they did it without Caitlin Clark. This team is crazy. They are beating the #1 team in the league first, and then they go and beat the Aces, who they haven't won to in 16 games, and they did it without Caitlin Clark, which is just a testament to how this team is finally developing.
A tough call in a high-speed moment, but for anyone who's been watching the WNBA this season, that blown whistle didn't feel random at all. It felt familiar, and that's exactly why it sparked such a massive reaction, because this wasn't an isolated slip-up. It was a clear pattern finally boiling over. All season long, fans have been pointing to moments just like this. Calls that favor certain players, fouls that somehow go missing, and questionable decisions that always seem to tilt in the same direction. And at the center of it all, Aja Wilson, a generational talent, no doubt, but also the subject of growing controversy. They call her Whistle Wilson, and it's not because of her defense or hustle. It's because game after game, she seems to get the whistle.
Aja Wilson, she got a favorable whistle in the second half, but it is what it is. Superstars get the whistle. Unless your name is, 29 points for Aja Wilson, 3 boards, 3 personal fouls, 3 turnovers, 9 for 18 from the field, 11 for 13 from the free throw line. Look at the rest of her team. 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 6 points, 0 points, 4 points, 2 points, 3 points. Dana Evans, 1 for 10, Dana Evans.
The kind of calls that shift momentum, bail out tough possessions, or keep her on the floor when others would have been benched. It's become a running joke among hardcore fans, except nobody's really laughing anymore. In this game alone, Wilson went to the free throw line 13 times. The entire Indiana Fever roster, 12 players, combined for just 17 free throws. Think about that. One player was nearly handed the same scoring opportunity as an entire squad. And these aren't fan-made stats. This was broadcasted live with analysts acknowledging it on air. Even the more reserved commentators couldn't ignore it. Superstars get the whistle, one of them muttered. But the way he said it, it didn't sound like praise. It sounded like a problem. Fans aren't imagining things. The numbers, the trend, the bias. It's all real.
So, I got a Wilson. I got a nickname for Aja Wilson, guys. You know what it is? Whistle Wilson. Because this lady is always getting whistles. She's the person with the special whistle, guys. Every freaking time. And then she goes to the free throw line. Freaking free throw merchant. I think she's related to SGA. But anyway, she's not playing that.
And when something starts to feel that lopsided, it doesn't just frustrate people. It starts to break their trust in the game. The nickname that's fueling fan outrage. Whistle Wilson. It started as a sarcastic nickname tossed around in Reddit threads and fan pages. But now, it's become a symbol of everything WNBA fans feel is wrong with the officiating. And whether the league likes it or not, the name is sticking. Because this isn't about 1 or 2 extra calls. It's about a consistent, undeniable pattern where one player seems to get every single break, where defenders can't even breathe near her without drawing a whistle. Meanwhile, opponents are getting hammered with no calls, forced to absorb contact just to stay in the play.
Like I said, the referees were starting to get on the side of the Aces. They were trying to wheel the Aces back in, and Lexie stepped in and sort of killed it. Kelsey Mitchell never took her foot off the gas tonight, by the way. This is the best thing I've seen from Stephanie White all season long. Right here.
The numbers back it up, but honestly, you don't even need stats. You can see it with your own eyes. Game after game, Aja Wilson gets the benefit of the doubt. She's an MVP, a champion, and a face of the league. But with that spotlight comes scrutiny, and in this particular matchup, the difference in treatment was impossible to miss. Wilson attempted 13 free throws. The entire Fever roster, all 12 players, took just 4 more, with 17. That's not a coincidence. That's a spotlight on the imbalance. And fans weren't the only ones frustrated. Even the broadcasters, usually careful to toe the league line, started slipping. One commentator said it outright. They tried their best to keep the Aces in the game. Another pointed out Wilson's stat line, emphasizing that her scoring was mostly padded by trips to the line, not dominance in the paint. There was a tone in their voices that said everything. Enough is enough. This isn't about hating a player, it's about fairness. When a league's most high-profile star is seen as untouchable, it chips away at the sport's integrity. Because if fans start believing games are being influenced not by performance, but by protection, they stop watching. And that's the real danger. What started as a meme has now become a rallying cry, and the league can't just ignore it anymore. When commentators start calling out the refs live on air, you know it's bad. If there's one group that usually tries to stay neutral, it's the broadcasters. They're paid to call the game, not criticize it, but during this matchup, even the people behind the mic couldn't keep their reactions in check. And when the commentators, live on national TV, start openly questioning the officiating, it means something has seriously gone wrong. They weren't subtle about it either. One analyst flat out said, "Superstars get the whistle," not in a proud or admiring way, play, but with frustration, almost like he'd been biting his tongue for weeks. Another voice chimed in about Aja Wilson's free throw count, saying it looked like the refs were trying to keep the aces in the game. That's not casual analysis, that's a warning shot. The tone shifted from excitement to disbelief. At one point, they stopped breaking down plays and just started venting about how lopsided the calls were, how Indiana couldn't catch a break, and how obvious the imbalance had become when even the league's own coverage starts questioning the fairness of what's happening on the court. It's no longer a conspiracy, it's a reality. And it wasn't just Wilson's treatment. The broadcasters were reacting to the overall energy of the game. The tension, the physicality, the confusion from both benches. They knew what the audience was thinking. You could hear it in their voices. This wasn't normal. This wasn't okay. When the people paid to stay composed start slipping, it means the system they're watching is slipping too, and this game made that painfully clear. A rare moment of unity exposes the league's officiating problem. Coaches are competitive by nature. They argue with refs. They challenge calls, but they usually only go to war for their own teams. That's what made this game so different, because both head coaches on opposite sides of the court were united in their frustration, and that's not something you see often. Let's start with Becky Hammon, head coach of the Las Vegas Aces. Her team benefited from the controversial no call. Her star player was the one getting the favorable whistles, and still she snapped. In the post-game press conference, Hammond didn't make excuses. She didn't try to defend the officiating. She called it exactly what it felt like: chaos. It's a rugby match, she said bluntly. And my team doesn't want to play rugby back. That wasn't a coach venting. That was a coach sending a message. Not to her players, but to the league. And then there was Stephanie White. The Fever were leading by over 20 points when she finally lost it. After watching her players get mauled possession after possession, she erupted on the sideline, pacing, yelling, slamming her clipboard. She got hit with a technical, but she didn't care, because it wasn't just about one play or one moment. It was about months of frustration boiling over, a message to the refs, and more importantly, a public statement that enough was enough. The most telling part? Caitlin Clark's reaction. She wasn't even playing, but the second White drew that technical foul, Clark jumped up smiling, high-fived her teammates, and showed full support. That wasn't just about energy, but that was a cosign. That was the team's biggest star saying, "We're with you." Two opposing coaches, one team getting the calls, the other getting robbed, and both walked away disgusted by what they saw. That's not bias, that's a broken system. Players didn't need to speak. Their body language said everything. Not every protest needs a microphone. Sometimes the loudest statements are made without a single word. That's exactly what happened in this game. The players knew what was happening, and instead of lashing out, they let their frustration show in other ways. Ways the cameras couldn't ignore. Lexie Hull said it all with her reaction. She boxed out perfectly, got fouled, and still got penalized. She didn't scream. She didn't argue. She just stood there, stunned. The kind of reaction that speaks louder than words. You could see the disbelief in her eyes. It was the look of a player thinking, "What more can I do?" And then there was Caitlin Clark. She wasn't even in the game, but she was locked in on every play from the bench, shouting encouragement, standing up, reacting to every bad call. When her coach finally snapped and drew that technical, Clark's response was immediate. A smile, a high five, full support. She didn't have to say it out loud. Her body language said it all. Thank you. Somebody had to say it. Even players on the court who rarely show emotion were visibly frustrated. Slumped shoulders, eye rolls, hands thrown up in disbelief. It wasn't subtle, and when players from both teams are showing that same silent outrage, it's no longer team frustration. It's league-wide. The rebellion had already started. The league just hadn't realized it yet. A full-blown credibility crisis the WNBA can no longer ignore. This wasn't just a bad night of officiating, but it was the worst possible moment for the WNBA to lose control. On one side, you had the defending champions. On the other, the most talked-about team in the league. Millions of eyes were watching. Every highlight, every whistle, every misstep under a microscope. And in that spotlight, the league's biggest weakness was exposed. The no call on Lexie Hull wasn't just a mistake. It was the final straw, a symbol of what players, coaches, and fans had been quietly complaining about all season. Now that frustration had a face, a viral clip, a moment that couldn't be explained away. What made this even worse? The silence. The WNBA didn't respond. No statement, no accountability, nothing. And that silence hit harder than any technical foul, because when a league stays quiet during a crisis, fans don't see strength, they see guilt. They see a system too fragile to admit it's broken. Coaches are openly criticizing refs. Broadcasters are calling out bias. Players are visibly protesting during games. This isn't drama. This is collapse. And unless the league steps in, fans are going to start asking a dangerous question. Can we even trust the outcome of these games anymore? The WNBA isn't facing a controversy. It's facing a credibility crisis. And it's one they created by refusing to listen. What happens next could shape the future of the league. It started with one missed call, but by the end of the night, it wasn't just about a whistle. It was about trust. And in professional sports, once that's gone, everything else starts to fall apart. This wasn't just a rough game for the officials. It was a boiling point, a public unraveling of what fans, players, and coaches have been whispering about for months. When both head coaches are calling out the refs, even the one whose team benefited from the calls, you don't have a bad night. You have a broken system. Now the WNBA is facing a question it can't avoid. Will it finally take action, or will it let this moment fade and hope fans forget? Because one thing is clear, silence isn't neutral anymore. Silence looks like guilt, and the longer it lasts, the more damage it does. So what do you think the league needs to do to fix this? Better training for refs, stricter accountability, a full overhaul of officiating leadership? Drop your take in the comments, and don't hold back. And if you want to keep following this story as it unfolds, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. We're going to be tracking every response, every change, and every moment the league either steps up or slips further. Share this video with another fan. Let the WNBA know we're all watching, and we won't stay quiet. What happens next could shape the future of the league. The WNBA can't treat this like background noise. This isn't just fans venting online. It's coaches drawing texts in protest, players visibly fed up, and broadcasters questioning the integrity of the game on air. That viral no call didn't just expose a bad moment, it exposed a broken system. The league is growing fast, with more eyes than ever before. But if fans start believing games are influenced by favoritism, not performance, that momentum dies. Trust is everything, and right now it's hanging by a thread. This is the time for the WNBA to act, not in silence, but openly, with accountability, better training, and real changes. Because if they stay quiet, fans will assume the worst. So what needs to happen? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should refs be held accountable? Should calls be reviewed more aggressively? Let's talk about it. If you're with us, hit like, subscribe, and share this video with another fan. The more people watching, the harder it becomes for the league to ignore what's right in front of them. Because now, we're all watching, and we're not going anywhere.